Welcome to the Inspired Instructor Training Podcast, hosted by me, Diana Todd. In this very first revamped episode, I'm joined by the brilliant Sarah Baldock from SB Driving School in Maidstone, Kent. And we talk about what it means to be an ordinary driving instructor doing extraordinary work. From celebrating small wins with learners to finding confidence in reflection, recording lessons and showing up authentically online. Sarah shares how social media became a tool for growth rather than pressure, and the lessons she's learned from her pupils and how compassion and self-reflection shape her teaching. If you've ever felt like you're just doing the job, then this episode is for you. You are doing more than enough. And this chat reminds us all why that matters.
Inspire Instructor Training Podcast, where the learning never stops.
So thank you for joining me on our very first Inspire Instructor Training Podcast that is hosted by myself. I am joined by the wonderful Sarah Baldock from SB Driving School in Maidstone, Kent. Welcome and thank you for being my first guest.
Thank you for having me, Diana. It's very exciting.
And I think one of the reasons we're doing this is off the back of the wonderful Terry Cook's conversation with me when we almost just explored my journey in the industry. And I think what was really lovely was the fact that we looked at opportunities and how we could extend opportunities to as many people as possible, because I think that's the point within our industry. We want to give people opportunities. We want to explore our own limits as well. And following that, I had the idea of, I think it was Terry, said, I can't think of any, female-led podcasts in the industry. And the wonderful Philip Cowley went, ding, 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 ding. And so this podcast was born. And what I wanted to do, and I've just had a conversation with Sarah, was for our first podcast, I wanted somebody that I respect, that I trust, and that is interesting. Like I actually thought, oh God, I need to learn more about Sarah. And I thought, oh, well, why not? Why not? So, and you kindly said yes.
Yeah, why wouldn't I say yes? It's fantastic.
That.
That's a great idea.
I love that. One of the things that one of the main reasons actually that sort of sparked the idea of me reaching out to you was the very fact that you do so much in the industry. I mean, just to outline, we've obviously shared a podcast before about menopause, and we'll touch on that properly a wee bit later. And you've introduced us to lots of lovely people like Laura Joyce from Driving Test Success, and I think one of the other things I wanted to mention is that we reached out to you to be a support mentor. So we've got a lovely little collaboration going on already. And when I reached out to you, I very much had an idea about digging into the social media side of things and how you got started with that. And then you came at me with some other lovely ideas that will come across in this podcast. So I'm gonna start with that, if you don't mind. And I'm going to ask you, what gave you the idea to start recording snippets of your lessons, both with Laura, who is a PDI, and with your learners, and sharing it on social media?
Okay, so what got me started was I have always loved Instagram. I can remember when Instagram first came out, and it was always my go-to, and still is my go-to social media platform. I don't really like TikTok. I have got TikTok, but I don't like it. It's not very pleasant. So I don't hang out there much. I have got Facebook, again, not very pleasant. So Instagram is my thing. And that's where I post all of my videos. But the way that it started, it evolved. It just started really, I wanted a diary of my working life. That's what I wanted. So anything that happened in the car, I would make a post about. And when I first started, it was just photographs and copy. So the writing side of it, which I really enjoyed. And then it just sort of evolved from that. So it would be things that happened in the car, you know, something interesting, something that happened with a student or a situation. And I thought, oh, actually, that would make a good post. So that's how that, you know, that started. And then it evolved to me putting dash cam footage, just purely dash cam, no sound, no nothing, of things that happened in the car. And my son, bless his heart, would edit the videos for me. And I then got a laptop for Christmas. My husband got me a laptop for Christmas a couple of years ago. And Max, my son, had put some editing software on there for me. And he was like, right, now you can do your own editing. I don't need to get involved. And it sort of started from there. So I was like, okay. And I actually really enjoyed the editing side of it. It's nothing major. I don't do anything fancy. It's really basic. I just snip and cut bits of footage together. And I then got a new car. And so I got a new dash cam, and I treated myself to a dash cam that has a cabin view in it.
Yeah.
Pushed a little bit by Laura, to be fair. Laura did push me to do that a little bit. And I started when I was editing the videos, you have to watch a lot of footage. You have to listen back to yourself teaching. Mm-hmm. And it very quickly became a really important learning tool for me. So I would watch myself cringe because it's horrible. It's really horrible watching yourself back when you first start doing it. But actually, I learned such a lot. I learned a lot about what I say, how I say it. I learn about how I fidget. If I'm distracting, if I'm fiddling around, I don't know, with the windows or whatever, all of this sort of stuff, I learned such a lot, and I still learn now. So every time that I edit stuff, I'm more or less watching a whole lesson back. Mm-hmm. And it's really, really interesting. And I pick up so much information, but I also use it for, I will do little videos for my students. So like if they have a first lesson, I'll do the video from when they first moved the car.
Oh, I love
and stop the car, and I send it to them. And it's like, they're like, yeah, exactly. And then they love that. They all love it because they look back on and you know, as time goes on, they look back on their progress and they can see how far they've actually come. So that's another.
Go on.
Yeah. That's another thing that I use it for. Not everybody wants to be filmed, which is fine. Mm-hmm. So I can actually take the cabin camera off so that if somebody is uncomfortable, we just don't film at all, and it's no big deal. Some of them are happy for me to film because I explained to them about the CPD element for me. Some are happy for me to film but not post, which again is fine. And again, that's quite useful if something's happened on a lesson, I can snip a bit and send it to them. So I go, this is what we were talking about. If we couldn't quite remember, or, you know, sometimes on a lesson you forget sometimes, don't you, to like, maybe there was a roundabout or something and something happened and you can't quite remember.
Yeah.
That's quite useful to look back at it, and I send it to them and they go, oh, right, yeah, okay. So we can kind of recap that way as well. So yeah, and it's just, some of them are don't care. They're just like, yeah, you can film me, you can post what you like. But I always ask permission. I never post without asking permission. And quite often I'll send them the video first so that they can approve it. And if anybody then, if I do post it and somebody wants me to take it down subsequently, I'll take it down. So it's, you know, it's just purely a diary of my working life. And that's kind of how it evolved. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, I don't think I would have been able to do it if it wasn't for Laura, to be quite honest with you.
Okay. She's that.
Yeah, well, because she and I met through social media, through Instagram. She had just finished working with Driving School TV, and we just got chatting, and we haven't really stopped chatting ever since. And that was probably 2.5, 3 years ago now. Probably it's a long time now. We've met at one of the expos in person, and she was like, will you come and film with me? She'd just got a new job, and she's like, would you please come and film with me? And I was like, yeah, no worries. So I filmed with her for a year, free of charge, just because it was Laura. But actually, she taught me such a lot, and it also gave me loads of more confidence in what I was saying and how I say stuff. We're very, what's the word I'm looking for? We're very careful to put out good videos with driving test success. Good information, nothing that's going to make people go, oh, I'm not sure about that, I'm not sure about that. So we're quite, it is educational, it's not clickbaity stuff. And so it's been interesting working with her. She's learned tons from me, and I've learned tons from her. So it's worked out quite well. So yeah, that's it really. That's kind of how I got into it.
I love that. And you said earlier that is it the whole lesson that you watch, and is it every lesson that you watch, or is there well, this is what I'm sort of intrigued about, because I'm thinking, oh gosh, so how what is it that sparks you then going and watching that whole lesson rather than just trying to find that snippet that you're interested in?
Well, but it depends, you know, when you come out of a lesson and you think that was a really good lesson.
Yeah.
Oh, that was really good. I watch those back because I want to know what made me feel like that.
Love it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I tend to watch all of those back. I also have, it's not every lesson, Diana, honestly, it's not every lesson, but I also have 2 SD cards, which I alternate because my dash cam records over itself.
Yeah.
So if I know that I've had a lesson that was really good, I'll swap the cards over so that I can take my time looking at it. So it's not every lesson, it's certainly not every day. I would say I probably look back at lessons maybe twice a week now. And if I know that there's something specific, I'm really quite quick at editing now. So I can probably pinpoint the point in the lesson, because I know my timings and everything. Can pinpoint the time of the lesson. I can snip it really quickly, and then I just save it and use it whenever I want to.
I love that. So have you ever contemplated doing it the other way? Because you touched on it there when you said it's the good ones, and God, guilty as charged, you know, like sometimes I come out of the lessons, I go, what the hell was that? Do you do it the other way and have a little look?
Yeah.
What do you find when you watch the ones that you're like, oh, that wasn't great, I need some support with that, or I need help? I'm just curious about that, because I've got something in my mind on something that I'd like to share and what I've found, but I'd be interested in what your perspective is.
So that's an interesting question, because one of the main reasons that I started to look back on my dash cam footage before I got the cabin cam was one of my students said to me at the end of one lesson, he said to me, sometimes, Sarah, when you say stuff, you sound like you're criticizing. And I went,
love that pupil.
What? Oh, yeah. I went, oh, what? Really? Oh, sorry, don't mean to. But I watched back, I listened back, because I had audio in the car. I listened back to that, and he was bloody right. He was bloody right. It was my tone of voice, the way that I say stuff. I couldn't see my facial expression, obviously, but he was right. He was right. And that kind of started me on the journey of really sort of starting to pay attention to what I said and how I said things. And then also listening back, if I had a funny reaction from a student, I'll listen back and I go, oh, hang on, what did I say then? Why did I get that reaction from them? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it does work both ways, definitely.
I love that. So ultimately, you've just been reflecting on your own teaching skills, which is something we say to people all the time. But you've got that backup there of really almost a third person to show you what that feels like. Fair play to you and your pupil. One, for you to create an environment where your pupil felt comfortable enough to call you out on that. I absolutely blooming love that. And I don't know if you noticed, recently I shared something on socials where I had Izzy today actually. And sometimes you get those learners where you are motivating them to do something, or there's a little reward, or there's a goal setting, like maybe a little incentive, like a coffee at McDonald's or a Mackey's breakfast, always in my time actually, or like added time. And Izzy is this quietly confident, well, actually she hasn't, but she certainly portrayed this confidence in driving. And twice she said to me, oh, you've never taken me to a Mackey's breakfast? And she said it once, and I actually, and I'm ashamed to say, but I actually, it's not like I dismissed her, but I was like, yeah, but you're great. So like you've got to go the extra mile in order. And I kind of like jokingly said, like, you're great,
Don't need it.
Well, yes. Now here was the interesting thing, right? So it was, I don't know, a week, 10 days later or something, or she'd gone on holiday. She said it again. And I was about to dismiss it. Now, I am the mum that absolutely advocates for the quiet little girl that just does exactly what she does when she's supposed to do it all the time. I mean, obviously not with us, but, like in school, in clubs. She gets overlooked time and time again. And I've always had a bit of a bee in my bonnet about this. And it was interesting because Izzy's a teacher actually as well. And I often talk about this and she was like, well, you've never taken me to McDonald's. And I went, yeah, but Izzy, and I went, oh my gosh. I was like, you're Sophia. You're literally, I'm overlooking you because you're so good. And I said, oh no, this changes. It changes today. And no, I think I said to her, I said, no, absolutely. I said, I'm going to recognize how far you've come. What should we do? And we had a conversation because there's a lovely bakery as part of like a special education needs school, and all of the students work there and they serve there, and it's just a wonderful little cafe. Neither one of us had ever gone in it. And I think that there was an element of not really knowing what to do, how to do it, if we can go in, when we could go in. We just didn't know what to do. And therefore we just avoided it. Sounds familiar, right?
Yeah.
And then I said to her, oh, on our first lesson, and I think this was important actually. I said, on our first lesson, we both said we wanted to go to that bakery. Shall we do that today? In fact, I think I said, should we do it the next lesson? And she was like, yeah, that would be amazing. And we did. We went, we got a coffee. It was such a lovely experience. I got like a rosemary and sea salt focaccia to take home. She got like she got like a apple and cinnamon crumble and a latte. And she was so gracious. She was like, oh, would I be allowed a coffee? Well, of course you're allowed a coffee. And I just thought, creating that environment where your pupils can hold you accountable is no small feat. So I wanted to celebrate what you just said there. Have you ever watched back a lesson to learn from something, thinking it was god awful, and then actually taking a fresher pair of eyes and going, oh no, actually that was all right? Maybe in the moment it felt worse than the reality. Is that something you're familiar with?
Yeah, I mean, there's things like it's a lot easier to watch the pupil when you watch it back on a video.
Yes.
So I can see all the mirror checks and I can see all, do you know what I mean? Like it's a lot, but I can also see how comfortable they look. So you can see quite a lot more because obviously the camera's facing them. So things like that. Yeah, I mean, I just find it really useful. I find it such a useful thing to do, and it's something that I'll always do now, and it's something that I would recommend to everybody to do it. I know you don't have to post, you don't have to do what I do, you don't have to put yourself out on social media, but in terms of your own reflection and your learning, there's tons of stuff that you can learn from. And sometimes, if you have an instance where you thought maybe a pupil, I don't know, pulled out when there wasn't a gap or something, whatever it is, you can then look, or actually the good thing is going through an amber light.
Yeah.
When you think, oh, I'm not sure about that, I can look back and go, oh no, actually we were okay with that one. Do you know what I mean? So it's just silly little things like that, but it's all about making myself feel better that I'm doing the best that I possibly can. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's that whole accountability post, and I love the accountability, and I think it just holds a sort of light up to us as well. And I think personally, I think it showcases to learner drivers your commitment to CPD, and being a true Scot, it's free. Like, why would you not get that happening in your car?
The only thing is it is time consuming.
Yeah.
And I have to be very careful that I don't do it for hours and hours and hours in the evening, because that would be very, very easy. But I think initially when I first started, it did take me a long time to edit. Now I'm kind of a bit better at it. And like I said, I don't do anything fancy. I literally just cut the bit I want and go. So I can see why some people would find it a little bit overwhelming, but you don't even need to do that. You can just watch the bit that you want to watch.
Do you think then on that, let's touch on that a little bit, because I think there's lots of people out there that would like to do something similar, like even if it was as an educational piece, either for themselves or for their learners or for any PDIs that they're training. What piece of advice would you like to give them based on your experience to date to get started?
What in terms of videoing yourself, or
both videoing and no, because I think videoing is probably a little bit more simpler, because I think I would just rip the band-aid off with video and get a phone, pop it in a phone holder, press record, jobs are good in. Although what I do find when I do that is it feels a little bit more obtrusive in the car, whereas the dash cam is just
it's there, it's away.
Subtly recording in the car. However, for a quick win and for that CPD point of view, I think top tips, if using a phone, I actually tend to turn the phone away so that I'm not looking at myself. It's just then like an unobtrusive camera in the car, and of course getting all the sign-offs and what have you. But I suppose specifically I'm talking about people that would like to use or even get started on building up a social media platform. Nothing that's going to rock the world, but what's your top tips in order for them to even just get started, to dip their toe in the water, if you like, without it hijacking hours of their time?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to post videos, you don't have to post reels. I mean, depends what you want. If you want to be really popular and really have loads of followers, I don't, then there are certain rules that you need to follow in terms of hooking people after the first 3 seconds of your video and all that kind of nonsense. I don't get involved with any of that. As I say, the way I did it and the way that made sense to me was that it was just literally what was going on in the car.
Yeah.
So even if you wanted to start with past pictures, with permission, obviously. It doesn't even need to be their face, does it? You could, I don't know, a little picture with the certificate, blank out all the information, obviously. Then you could do something, I don't know, the next post could be on something about the highway code or something about roundabouts or something specific like that. A little bit about yourself doesn't hurt. introduce yourself, a nice picture of your face, introduce yourself, what area you cover. I mean, Laura talks about this all the time.
Yeah.
All this sort of stuff. I would say the main thing, though, is to be true to yourself. Don't try and be something that you're not. Don't try and be an influencer. Don't try and be a big YouTube person. Don't necessarily do all the fancy editing that you see all the TikTok instructors do. If you want to do that, brilliant, great, go ahead. But you don't have to do that, If you wanted to use it as an advertising tool, which I do as well, I get a lot of inquiries through my social media. Make sure that you tell people where you are. That's important.
Yeah. I'm about that, actually.
Yeah, hashtag Maidstone. I had a girl contact me from Manchester actually the other day, and I went, I'm really sorry, I'm not in Manchester. I'm in Maidstone, I'm in Kent. So yeah, be specific about your area. You can post pictures from your from lessons. I post loads of pictures about, I don't know, parking, or if we go somewhere that's got a really nice view, we'll stop, we'll turn the engine off, get out, take a picture. Anything like that. Again, it's just about showcasing you as an instructor and what you can bring. And from that, you might get somebody go, oh, actually, they look all right. They look quite friendly. They look quite nice. They've got nice amount of passes under their belt. You just never know. The only way to do it is to start. I would say just start.
Interesting, because I love that, because it's something simple, isn't it? It's those past photos that most people are already doing. But then I love the fact that you said get your own face out there, because actually I think people forget that we are the product. We are the human being that they're planning to spend a certain amount of time with. And I think it's important then.
A lot of money with.
A
lot of money with as well.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. And I think on that note, I think it's important as well that with your profile, and we've touched on this in the past, that you are sharing the type of content that is going to attract the type of pupil that you want to attract. And I'm going to leave that sentence there because I know we've had that conversation. So I wondered if you wanted to expand on that in terms of what do you do to make sure that your content speaks to your target audience?
I don't just post past pictures. I post a lot about driving to various different places. I don't post about test routes. I post about post-test driving.
Nice.
And I also post that I work with a lot of students that have anxiety, OCD, ADHD. So I try and do that, post about that in a sensitive way, because obviously I don't want to embarrass any students. And if I do post specifically about something like that, I will always get that person's permission to talk about it, and then generally they will understand, oh, actually this could help somebody else in my situation. So they're usually quite happy for me to post about it. So yeah, and then that way you get the people that you want, really.
No, that makes sense. So far, we've talked about the positives of social media, and you've touched on earlier that TikTok wasn't a pleasant place for you to be in, and I'm not sure if this was on camera or earlier, but Facebook wasn't particularly great either, and Instagram's your sort of go-to. What kind of impact did those negative comments have on you, and what steps did you take to make sure that it didn't continue being a problem for you?
I'm very lucky on my own socials. I very rarely get negative comments. If I do, I try and counter those in a very nice educational way.
Yeah.
So I don't argue with people. I just give them the facts. This is what I meant. And sometimes things can be, in fact, I took a post down the other day because I can't even remember what it was about now, but it was misinterpreted. So I was like, do you know what? You've made a fair point. I'm going to take this down, and I'll probably rejig it and think about it and do it in a different way. So I would do that. TikTok. I am on TikTok. I do have a TikTok account, and my face and videos are seen on Driving Test Success. Mm-hmm. They have 1.2 million followers, I think, on TikTok. Wow. And when Laura first told me that that's what was going to happen, I felt a bit sick, I'll be honest. I was like, right, okay. But actually the way that I look at it is because they post it doesn't come back on me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I haven't posted that. I'm in it.
Yeah. But
those comments, I can kind of distance myself from those comments if there are any negative comments. Again, generally, on my videos, we very rarely get anything too bad. But it can have a really bad effect. It can really affect your mental health, and it can really. I have massive imposter syndrome anyway. Yeah. Huge imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. And it can really affect you. You know, that one little comment, you could be thinking about it all night, not sleeping, thinking about, oh my God, could I? But again, to me, I'd be like, well, did I say something that warranted that? Yeah. You know? So to me, it's not worth it. It's not worth the ag.
I quite agree. We were talking earlier that I put what I thought was an educational post on Facebook, and actually a celebration of my daughter cycling to school. And I was talking about the fact that people would give me less space than what they gave her. And I think my message, and it was just an observation, a bit like what we're talking about now, it's reflecting on what you have experienced and trying to understand what other people's thoughts and thinking were in that moment at that time. And actually the risks around that, not only to me, to Sophia, and to them. And I think it sounds to me like you're very good at that, and I know I'm good at that as well. And I was wanting to do this sort of information piece across social media about, you know, the fact that I don't have much experience on roads. In fact, Sophia has a much greater level of experience of riding on the roads, and there is a funny story about this. Much greater level of riding on the roads, and she's done a bikeability course, and you know, she's done about 4 years of quieter road cycling, and she's cycled this route on a Sunday, you know, and so there was lots of build up to this. We didn't just plonk her in the middle of the bloody road rush hour traffic and say best of luck, love. Do you know what I mean?
Off you go.
And for the most part, people were lovely. And I was talking about the primary position and how I would, if there was street furniture like central refuges and stuff, I would plonk myself in the middle to protect her and I from people overtaking. And the amount of people that came on and were like, what a load of nonsense. You should absolutely be to the left. You're taking your own life in your own hands and putting your child in danger. Wait for it. There was one person, right? And I couldn't get my head around this. And I tried, as you suggested, I put up about, you know, sticking to the left isn't always appropriate. We have a blindness as humans where saccadic masking comes in. We make up a picture of what we expect to see. Sticking to the left, we're very much in their blind spot. And it was a really educational reply. And I carried on that thread until I actually got fed up, like answering like the same stuff over and over. Yeah. and most people just did it for me, thankfully. But I kid you not, one person came up and said, well, I get your point, but I mean, I'm ad-libbing here. I get your point, but, and this is what he said, surely if you were to the left and if there was an inattentive driver, you would only be clipped by their car. Yeah. You'd flipped by their car, which would be far better than a rear end shunt.
Right, yes, of course.
So,
Why didn't you think of that?
oh my gosh, honestly. So I was like, okay. So I came back and I said, well, if there's an inattentive driver, I like to think that if I'm smack bang in the middle of his viewpoint with a high jacket and a fluorescent pink helmet, I'm less likely to be in a collision at all than, off to the side in his blind spot, or she. But honestly, it was so funny though, because the amount of support I got for it, but you're right. I focused on those negatives, and it was really annoying me and bothering me because I thought, oh my gosh, have I put my child in danger? Am I a terrible mother?
And it makes you question, doesn't it? It makes you question your training. It makes you question your knowledge. And I think because people like you and I have, and other instructors have vast knowledge of the risks, of the dangers, of anything that can go wrong, way more than your average driver probably, because most people haven't had any training since they passed their test, let's face it. And so because they've been driving for years and years and years without incident and without, anything going wrong, they think that they're the best drivers in the world and that you're the problem.
Yeah. And that was very much what I found. It was like, I've driven in London, cyclists, do this, that, and the next thing. Oh, and it was what ifs. I was like, but that wasn't the what ifs. And you were saying I've seen cyclists with kids riding on the handlebars, and one had a car seat strapped to the bike. Don't tell me that is safe. And I literally, and by this point I was getting a bit sarky because I really was annoyed. And I went, what was I said? I said, no dangerous balancing on handlebars, no illegal car seat strapped to any part of the cycle, just a little girl cycling to school, getting a sense of achievement, protecting the planet, and stopping vulnerable road users around her school from having to encounter many cars. And there was one where he likened, basically he was saying about drug driving and drink driving, and I put my child in death. I was so tempted to say, just go and call social services, right? Go off, call social services, see what they think. But I had likened it to, being on a motorway in a car, and if you're going to encounter somebody on drugs or drink driving, the risks there are very similar, etc., etc. But after that, I turned off the comments. This person then went out of his way to find my phone number on the driving school page, I suppose, and WhatsApped me. WhatsApped me last night when I was putting my wee girl to bed.
What did he say?
Oh, I'll read it to you because it was shocking. I just ignored it.
See, that to me, that there is almost an invasion of your privacy, isn't it?
Yeah, absolute psychopath. Sorry, am I allowed to say psychopath? Yeah, well, I just
have to cut that bit out.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think did I delete it? How can I find deleted chat? So I don't know. But he basically came back and said, "You've turned off comments. You've put a post up about teaching a little girl. You've likened it to the motorway. I haven't had a chance to respond to this." I really had it go at me, and I went, "Oh, do you know what? Block, delete. I'm not even going to engage." That is just ridiculous. There was one that said that accused me of cyclist propaganda. But do you know the funniest thing? Right?
What?
I know, honest to goodness. But there was the funniest thing. This is actually quite funny. I am quite inexperienced in the roads. I'm experienced enough to stay safe, but the mechanics of the bike is not my forte. Just like the mechanics of a car is not my forte. The first couple of cycles with Sophia, my God, I was going like the clappers, Sarah. I swear down, and she was getting further and further to the point where I shouted at her to slow down, stop, pull in. I said, Sophia, I cannot keep up with you. Anyway, turns out, right, that there's 2 gear levers on a bike, and I was in gear 1
all time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on the left. So, so I was working my arse off. And Phil went, oh God, that reminds me of my learners that won't change up gears.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was, it was funny. The gear cycle to school, third and fourth attempt went swimmingly, thank God. But I remember comparing myself to something from Murder, She Wrote, and Sophia was like Chris Hoy. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I tell you what, you're braver than me. I don't think we used to cycle to school, but it was across fields.
Mm-hmm.
So there was very little road work.
In theory, it's a straight road. It's a bit of a hill, which was a bugger. It was busy, but the roads are wide enough for everybody to get round until we're just at our school. Then it's a bit narrow.
Yeah,
and there was no real issue with it, to be honest with you. But that leads me nicely, because actually there was another sort of moment or another sort of topic I wanted to cover with you, because when I spoke to you about this, you said that you wanted to almost celebrate the instructors that are living the life of being a driving instructor. And I think your exact words were, not the best of the best, not your trainers, not your specialisms or anything like that. And I wanted to, because you said you wanted more focus to be on the ordinary driving instructor. What do you mean by that?
There's a lot of noise in the industry at the minute with in and around CPD and trainers, which I'm part of.
Me too.
Yeah. And it's very easy, I think, for some people to feel that they're not doing enough because they're not out there, they haven't written a book, they aren't training, they aren't doing Zooms every night, Diana. They're not exhibiting at expos, they haven't got a product to sell, they're just literally doing the job day to day. And I think there are so many of us out there that are just doing that. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's very easy to focus on, like we were saying about the social media, focus on all these wonderful things that all these wonderful people are doing, and you are all wonderful. And just forget about the thousands of people that are actually just doing the job day to day. Yeah. And I think we need to embrace some of those people. I'm very lucky in that I was an ordinary driving instructor, and now I'm kind of involved with you guys. I'm involved with Driving Test Success, which is the big 4-in-1 theory test app. Mm-hmm. I've been on Terry's podcast a couple of times, so I kind of dip my toe in it. Mm-hmm. But I'm still out there doing the day-to-day, and that's the bit that I really, really love. And I wanted to just sort of make it known to ordinary people like me that are just doing the job day to day that you're doing okay, you're doing all right. You don't have to write a book, you don't have to be a trainer, you don't have to, I don't know, go to all the expos and go to all the Zooms and do all the CPD. Do what you can manage, focus on yourself, reflect on yourself, make yourself better, and your students will benefit from that.
I love that. And I think we touched on something earlier where there can be an element of keeping up with the Joneses, trying to do what everybody else is doing, but everybody's circumstances are different. And I know I touched on that in the podcast, and I've had people comment, oh, how do you do this, how do you do that? You just juggle the balls that you need to juggle at the time, and some of them will drop, but as long as you have the ability to be able to pick them up and crack on and accept that some of them have dropped for whatever reason, then I think that's okay as well. With that in mind, I wanted to touch on your journey, because you've said now that you're job has evolved slightly, but tell us about your own journey as a driving instructor. How did you get into instructing? What's made you stick at it? How long have you been an instructor? There you go. There's 3 questions to choose.
Okay. I got into it because like a lot of people, I was made redundant.
Mm-hmm.
And the job that I was made redundant from was term time only.
Oh, wow.
10:30 to 2:30, Monday to Friday. And I did that for 7 years, which kind of covered Max while he was at primary school. And then they finally made me redundant. And I found it really difficult. At that time, I was about 40, maybe a bit older. And I found it very difficult to find a job, but also find a job with those hours and that, that the pay and everything that I was kind of used to. And this is something that I'd always wanted to do before I got that job. But because I got that job, it was so cushy that I never bothered doing this. And my husband said to me, why don't you look at instructing again? And I was like, oh, okay. So I did. I started training in 2017, passed my part 1 and my part 2 straight away. Went on a pink license in about March 2018, failed a part 3, and then passed on my second attempt in about the October.
Nice.
I was then obviously with a franchise with my trainer, and I was with him for until we went into lockdown. And I remember feeling when we went into lockdown, obviously it was shit, wasn't it? For everybody. Yeah. But I can remember feeling that I just sort of got into my rhythm as an instructor, because it was about maybe 14, 15 months. I'd been working flat out, non-stop, 6 days a week, lots of hours. And then I'd had a run of about 8 or 9 passes, and then we went into lockdown, and I was like, oh my God, this is just awful. That's when I started to really focus on social media, because to keep my brain active, I was doing like theory quizzes on Instagram and posts and all sorts of stuff just to keep myself active. But at the same time, I also handed in my notice for my franchise, took all my decals off whilst over the 4 months or whatever it was we were in lockdown, and then came at the end of lockdown. I was an independent and have not looked back since. In and around that time, I met Terry again online. He persuaded me to go on in the green room. We were talking online about the new triggers that they had brought out, standard check triggers. And we were just I was trying to get my head around it, and I was asking him questions, and he was like, just come on and talk to me about this, and I was like, and he went, come on, just come on. And so I did. And it was probably the best thing that I could have done professionally, because it definitely changed my path.
Love that.
The podcast in itself changed my path, because it opened my eyes to CPD. I would never have found you guys. I would never have found Kit. I would never have found Lee Sperry, all of the people that I've worked with. But the podcast gave me that confidence. Yeah. Because you know what Terry's like. He was just brilliant. Made me feel so at home. It was brilliant. And apparently it was really well received as well. And I went on subsequently with both him and Chris a little while later in the green room as well. And that, from there, that's led to everything else. Literally everything else that I've done, all of the expos I've been to, all of the training I've done, meeting you guys, getting involved with support. And then somewhere in amongst all of that, I met Laura Joyce. And she started me off on the social media path that I'm also on. So it's varied, and I would never have, if you'd said to me sort of 4 or 5 years ago, this is where I would be, I would never have believed you. Absolutely not.
It's interesting, actually, because it sounds to me that there's a couple of things there where I've spoke about this, I think, actually on Terry's podcast, but it's post-traumatic growth. And there's two things that you've just said there that's made me think that you're the type of person that doesn't dwell on the negatives, the shit, the things that just can be debilitating for people. And one was you were made redundant from what sounds like a pretty cushy job.
Perfect.
And you turned it into a positive. So there's your post-traumatic growth. And I think the second one, and of course, COVID was horrific on so many levels. But what I love in what you've just said is you didn't wallow in that. And I don't know if this was the case or not. You might have just been one of the ones that did get financial support from a timing point of view. But it sounds to me that even that, and all that crap that and the content that was going around globally, you've turned that into a positive because you were doing the theory quizzes, you then got more involved in that social media side, and it's taking your career in a completely different direction. And I suppose we've talked about the ordinary instructor, but there's so many avenues that as a driving instructor you can go down. Is there any other avenues that you think you would like to explore as a driving instructor?
Yeah, I would quite like to get into mobility.
Nice.
And I know Chris Benstead, one of his, because Chris is local to me. Chris Benstead is local to me. Yeah, well, he's Seven Oaks, not very far away. And one of his instructors is a mobility specialist. And I've often thought, I might have to reach out and find some more information. And obviously at the expo as well, they were there as well, weren't they? So that, yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that. Nice. I'm obviously with you guys as well as a mentor.
Yeah.
That's scary. But it's also really positive because what I love about support is the support, but the community and the family feel that we have, and it is a genuine supportive community. Is you can't buy that kind of support. You know, I now know that I have several people, brilliant people that I can go to with a problem, and you'll all be like, yeah, this is a solution, have you thought about this? And it's just lovely. That's amazing.
What did you think? And it's interesting, I'll touch on two things. One, Kev Lines also does
yes, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
And I always say Motability, but that's the charity that run the driver. It's Mobility. Always say it wrong.
I probably said it wrong.
No, you said it right.
Did I? Oh, yay.
I always say it wrong. So I would definitely tap into him as well. The other thing I wanted to ask is you brought it up with support driving school. What was your initial thoughts when we asked you to be a mentor?
When you rang me, it was Saturday evening. I remember I was in the house on my own.
Yeah.
And you were like, have you got a minute? You messaged me and I went, yeah, okay. My initial thoughts, I was absolutely gobsmacked that you'd asked me. I'll be honest, I wasn't sure what a mentor was. And it wasn't until I put the phone down that I thought, oh yeah, what have I just signed up for? But the people that were involved, it was a no-brainer for me.
I love that.
You know, that yeah, of course I'll do whatever you would like, whatever you've asked me to do. It was it was a really, really nice thing, and it was interesting that I didn't have long to think about it though, because you rang me on the Saturday and then I think you went live the next day or the day after.
Yeah, I think it was relatively
really quick. Yeah. So it's taken me a while to get my head around it. And I'll be honest with you that locally here, again, this is my imposter syndrome, and I've spoken to Chris Benstead about this already, but locally here, I'm up against, as a trainer, I'm up against Chris Benstead, his partner Ian Brett, Graham Hooper, who's in Ashford. There's a local chap who runs Tolson Driving School. He's a fantastic trainer. So I'm up against all of those. But Sally said to me at the expo, she went, "But you're the only woman.
Yeah.
All of those are men." And I went, "Oh, that's true. Hadn't thought of that." So it's, in terms of putting myself out there as a trainer, it's quite a scary thing when you're up against that kind of caliber of trainer, like locally. But
nationally as well, because every time that you've mentioned, pretty much has a voice nationally as well.
But Chris Benstead said to me, "But not everybody that comes to us for training wants to train with us." And I was like, "Oh, that's an interesting point as well."
And I suppose, just like we've talked about on social media, sometimes people can take things in a completely different way from a different person. And I'll give you an example. Phil actually came up today to the Wirral from Devon, bless his heart. Oh, I've gone again. The last podcast I was like, oh, bless her. So yeah, Phil.
How is Stuart, by the way?
He's doing all right. He's hiding the news as well. But not because, and I need to sort of be careful the way partly because I think that he speaks in a way that Stuart can relate to more. A couple of reasons. One, I'm his wife, so I'm definitely more blunt to him than I am to other PTIs. Two, I just think Phil is also a guy, and obviously, and he has a way of putting stuff that makes sense to him and Stuart. They're very aligned in the way they think. And it's interesting because I think of some of the other PTIs that I train and I think, oh no, I'm definitely the right one for them because of the way I will articulate something or the way I'll have empathy for what they're going through. Not that I'm saying anybody else doesn't, but I think we all have our strengths. And I think what you've touched on there is you will absolutely have different strengths to those that are in your area. I think there's real value as well, because as much as you're saying, there's that imposter syndrome and it's new to you, the job itself, the reflection piece, all of the things that you have done up to now are the exact reason why we asked you to be a mentor. And the fact you weren't already a trainer, because if you look at all of our mentors, not one of them was a so-called trainer. It wasn't something we were specifically looking for, because I think there's real value in having a quality fresh pair of eyes looking at something. Somebody that, and you touched on this earlier, you're doing the day-to-day job. You are walking the walk, you are talking the talk, you are feeling the pain, you get it. You get the pupils where you've done it 10 times, they're still going wide round that left turn. You've tried everything, you've done the visual, you've done the demo, you've talked about thoughts and feelings and anxiety, and you've recorded it and you've done it. And I think that empathy and that compassion is our biggest strengths as mentors. And I suppose I wanted to sort of touch on, you said earlier about the support in the family. Do you feel supported in your role as a mentor? And what does being a mentor mean to you? Like, if you had to share what it is you would be doing or could be doing as a mentor role, what does that mean to you?
So yes, I feel supported. 100%. Not just by you and Phil, but by all of the others as well. I'm not going to name names, they all know who they are. In terms of being a mentor, at the moment, the only experience I have of that is working with Laura Joyce. Laura is a PDI. She has, I think will be her second time round, I think.
Yep.
Circumstances have got in the way for Laura. It's not necessarily down to ability. It's more to do with circumstances with her. But what I really enjoy about working with her, I mean, it's not formal. She doesn't pay me or anything like that, but she knows that I will answer any questions that she has. I will answer it in an unbiased way. I won't laugh at her. I never, ever laugh at a question that she asks me. And she knows that. So she will literally, she knows she can come to me with anything. And she does.
Mm-hmm.
But it works both ways, because she teaches me stuff and I teach her stuff. So it works both ways. And that's the only, I think, to me, that's what a mentor should be. It's somebody who's supportive. It's somebody who can answer your question. If I can't answer the question, then I'll come to you guys. Yeah. And I know that somebody there will have the answer. And it's about that kind of shared experience, isn't it, of helping, just like we do with learners.
Yeah.
It's that shared experience of helping somebody come to the right conclusion themselves. I think that's what it means to me.
And you have summarized that beautifully, because that, in a nutshell, is exactly why we asked you to be one of our mentors. And of course, we're growing, and it's a big part of the community that you've helped to build. So on that note, if listeners wanted to follow up with you, where should they go?
They can find me on Instagram. That's where I tend to hang out. Instagram is SB Driving. They can find me probably on the support website soon. Nice. When I do that thing for Phil, which I haven't done yet. Sorry, Phil. They can find me. I am on Facebook. Sarah Baldock is my own personal page. I'm friends with a lot of people on there already from the industry. But I also have a driving page, which is Sarah Baldock Driving. And they can, if they know you, they can find me
as a friend.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to finish on the fact that you've reminded us today that being an ordinary instructor isn't a small thing. No. And I think that's really important. It's one of the takeaways that I've come away with today. It means being real, relatable. I like to think that you're incredibly relatable and making a difference. One learner, one PDI, one mentee at a time. So I wanted to say thank you very much for being my first guest on this podcast. And I'm looking forward to following up with you soon.
You're very welcome. Thank you for asking me, Diana. It's been a privilege.
Inspire Instructor Training Podcast, where the learning never stops.